Energy blasts lit up the alleys. Sparks rained as walls cracked and burned. The soldiers shouted, their voices like thunder. The girl stumbled, nearly falling, but the human pulled her upright again. "Don't look back," he growled. She focused. Her vision blurred from tears, but she forced her feet to move. Step by step, her body learned to follow the light. Step by step, she was not a blind girl anymore. They burst into a wide street. More soldiers blocked the path, forming a wall of glowing staves. The girl froze. "We are trapped!" The human's eyes darted, searching. Then he spotted it, an old sewer grate half hidden by rubble. Without a word, he yanked it open and pushed her down first. "Go!" The smell was foul, the tunnel dark, but she crawled inside. The human dropped in after her, slamming the grate shut. Seconds later, boots thundered above, voices shouting in rage. The tunnel was narrow, water dripping from broken pipes. The girl panted, her chest burning. Her new eyes struggled in the dark, but even here, faint shapes and shadows appeared. The human walked ahead, his voice low. "We are safe for now." She touched the slimy wall, amazed that she could see even the smallest detail. The cracks, the dripping drops. She whispered, "I never knew the world had so much." He glanced back at her. "It has more than you can imagine," but his face was hard. He knew the soldiers would not stop. The council would hunt them both. The girl, though trembling, felt something strange in her chest. Not just fear, something stronger. She had run through the streets, escaped soldiers, and now sat in the dark, not as a victim, but as someone alive. Someone worth chasing. She looked at the human. "You risked everything for me, why?" His eyes softened for the first time. "Because no one should live in darkness when light is possible." Her breath caught. For the first time, she believed those words. Above them, the city roared with search parties, boots striking the streets. But in the tunnel, the girl clenched her fists. She was no longer trash. She was no longer helpless. And as the human led her deeper into the dark tunnels, she felt it. Her story was only beginning. The tunnels stretched endlessly beneath the city. Water dripped from rusted pipes. Rats scurried in the shadows, and the stench of decay clung to every corner. The girl and the human walked in silence, their footsteps echoing. For the first time in her life, the girl saw the dark, not as blindness, but as shapes and lines. Even in dim light, her new eyes caught details. Cracks in the walls, faint streams of water, roots breaking through stone. She whispered in awe, "Even darkness has a shape." The human glanced back at her. Despite the exhaustion on her face, he saw wonder burning in her eyes. "You're seeing more than most ever notice," he said quietly. But danger followed. Above ground, the city boiled. Soldiers searched every alley. Whispers spread through the marketplace, about the human who gave sight to the trash girl, about a miracle the council could not control. And fear always turned to anger. As they rested near an old ladder, the girl asked, "They will never stop, will they?" The human shook his head. "The council fears what they don't control. You are living proof of something they cannot explain." Her hands trembled. She touched the glasses, afraid to lose them. "Then what am I supposed to do? Hide forever?" His eyes softened. "Or show them what they refuse to see." The words echoed in her mind. Show them what they refuse to see. She had lived in shadows, mocked as trash, treated as nothing. Now she had sight. But what good was sight if she kept it hidden? Suddenly, the tunnel filled with light. Torches burned at the far end. Voices shouted, boots hammered on stone. The soldiers had found another way in. The human grabbed her hand. "Move!" They ran again, deeper into twisting passages, the noise of pursuit growing louder. But the girl's legs weakened. Her breath came in short gasps. She stumbled, falling to her knees. The human turned back quickly, lifting her up. But she shook her head. "I cannot keep running. They will catch us." Her voice was not only fear, it carried something else. A decision. The human frowned. "What are you saying?" She looked straight into his eyes, her new eyes burning with resolve. "I do not want to hide. Not anymore." Before he could answer, the soldiers appeared, blocking the tunnel both ahead and behind. Weapons glowed blue in the dark. The leader sneered, "There is nowhere left to run. Surrender, human. Give us the device and maybe we will let her live." The girl felt the old fear rise, but she pushed it down. Her voice trembled, but she forced it to grow stronger. "I am not trash. I am not blind. I am not yours to take." The soldiers laughed. "You speak against us?" The human stepped forward, ready to fight, but the girl grabbed his arm. "No," she whispered. "This time let me speak. The soldiers paused, surprised. The blind beggar who once crawled in the dirt now stood tall in front of them, eyes shining. "You always called me nothing," she said, her voice echoing in the tunnel. "But I see you now. I see your fear. You fear that someone like me can rise. You fear that a human can give me what you never would." Her words cut like knives. The soldiers' faces hardened, but their steps faltered. Even they felt the truth in her voice. The crowd above, drawn by the shouting, gathered near the grates, listening. Whispers carried through the tunnels. People were hearing her, people who had once mocked her. The human watched, silent but proud. This was no longer the broken girl collecting scraps. This was a new voice, one that could not be silenced. The leader raised his weapon, furious. "Enough!" The human moved to shield her, but the girl did not step back. She lifted her chin higher. Her fear was still there, but courage now stood beside it. "Strike me if you dare," she said. "But you cannot unsee what I am, and you cannot stop others from seeing it too." The leader's hand trembled. Around him, even his soldiers hesitated. The power of her words weighed heavier than any weapon. The girl realized something then. Sight was not only in her eyes, it was in her voice, her courage, her choice to stand. The human leaned close, whispering so only she heard. "You've started something they cannot stop." And deep down, she knew he was right. The soldiers might still attack, the council might still hunt them, but for the first time she was no longer a shadow. She was light in the dark tunnels of the world, and once light begins to shine, it can never be unseen. The tunnel was heavy with silence after the girl's words. Her voice had cut deeper than any blade. Soldiers stood frozen, their weapons glowing but unmoving. Above, through grates and broken stone, the sound of whispers grew louder. People were listening, merchants, children, beggars, even guards. For years she had been the girl who crawled in filth, mocked and unseen. But now, with eyes full of fire, she was the voice of every forgotten soul. The leader of the soldiers snarled, trying to break the moment. "She is nothing. The council decides who sees and who does not. Remove those devices at once." But his words fell flat. Doubt rippled through his own men. They had seen the girl's blind eyes before, useless and pale. And now they saw her stand tall, defiant, alive. It was not the human's strength that scared them most, it was hers. The human stepped beside her, calm as stone. His hand hovered near his pack, ready for battle if needed, but his eyes stayed on her. This was her fight now. The girl raised her chin, her voice echoing through the tunnels. "You call me trash because you fear what I might become. But look at me. I see you. I see this world. I see how you keep us blind so you can stay above us. No more." The whispers above grew into shouts. "She speaks truth," someone cried. "The council fears us." The soldiers shifted uneasily. The leader's face twisted with rage. He lunged forward, his staff raised. Before the human could move, the girl stepped in front of him. Her voice rang out like thunder. "Strike me, and all will know you fear a girl who once crawled in dirt." The leader froze mid-step. Around him, eyes watched from every shadow. If he struck her now, he would prove her words true, that even the mighty council feared one weak child made strong. Slowly, his staff lowered. His jaw clenched. "This is not over," he hissed. He signaled his men. "Fall back." The soldiers withdrew, vanishing into the dark, leaving only the echo of their boots. For a moment, the tunnels were silent. Then voices erupted from above, cheering, chanting. The people had witnessed something impossible, not the miracle of sight alone, but the courage of a girl they had once despised. The girl swayed, her knees weak. The human caught her arm gently. "You stood when no one else would. Do you know what you've done?" She looked at him, tears filling her eyes, but this time they were not tears of shame. "I am not trash anymore." He smiled, the faintest smile, but his eyes were proud. "You never were." The days that followed spread her story like fire. In the streets, whispers grew into bold talk. People began to question the council. They looked at the girl not as a beggar, but as a symbol. The trash girl who had found her voice became a name on every tongue. The council tried to silence her, but the harder they pushed, the louder the people grew. The girl did not hide. With the human always near, she walked the streets with her head high. Her eyes saw everything, the filth, the hunger, the cruelty. But she also saw hope. One evening, standing on a broken wall, she spoke to a gathered crowd. "I was blind and they called me nothing. But a stranger gave me sight, not just with these glasses, but with belief. If one human can see value in me, then you must see it in yourselves. We are not rats. We are not trash. We are alive, and we will no longer crawl. The crowd roared by. Returned. Kindness never lasted in her world. The human reached into his pack. Inside was a small black case he had carried for years. It held something simple yet powerful. Human-made glasses with lenses able to correct vision. To others here, they would be priceless technology. To him they were a forgotten spare. To her they could be life itself, but should he? His mind warned him, if she wears them, the crowd will notice. The greedy will come. She will be in danger. Still his heart whispered louder. She deserves a chance to see. He knelt close again. Tell me truth, he asked softly. If you could open your eyes and see the world, would you want it? Her whole body froze. The question cut deep. She had dreamed of light, of color, of faces she could never know. But she had also learned never to hope. Hope hurt more than blindness. Her voice cracked like a dry leaf. I want, but it cannot happen. The human opened the case. The faint shine of the lenses caught the market's light. He whispered, sometimes impossible things are waiting for the right moment. Her hands shook as she reached out. Her fingers brushed the frame, smooth, cold, strange. She pulled back in fear. What is it? A gift, he said. A chance. Before he could place them on her face, a shadow fell across them. A harsh laugh split the air. Well, look what we have here. The trash girl and her pet human. The girl stiffened instantly. She knew that voice, Kor, the butcher's son. Bigger than the others, crueler too. He pushed through the crowd with two friends, his thick arms crossed. The human stood tall. His eyes narrowed. Kor sneered. Why defend her? She is worthless. She crawls in filth. Even rats avoid her. Better to throw her away. The girl lowered her head, shame burning in her chest. His words were familiar wounds. But then she felt the human's hand steady on her shoulder, firm, protective, unshaking. She is not worthless, the human said. His voice cut sharp through the market noise. The crowd hushed. Nobody had ever spoken for her. Kor stepped closer, spitting on the ground. Then prove it, human. Show us this blind rat has value. The human's grip tightened on the glasses. He knew what he must do. His heart beat faster. If he revealed them now, there would be no turning back. But when he looked down at the girl, fragile, trembling, yet holding on, he knew the risk was worth it. He leaned close, whispering only for her. Do you trust me? Her breath shook. She had never trusted anyone, yet something in his voice felt safe, like a door opening in the dark. She nodded slowly. Yes. The human lifted the glasses and gently placed them over her eyes. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then light, her world exploded into color. The dull gray she had known all her life shattered into blue sky, red cloth, golden fire, and faces. So many faces staring at her. Tears spilled as she gasped. I can see, she whispered. Her voice was a trembling miracle. The market erupted in shouts, shock, and whispers. Kor's mouth fell open, fear replacing cruelty. The girl's pale eyes shone with life for the first time. The human stood beside her, steady as stone. He knew this gift had changed everything. And now both of them would face what came next. The blind girl, no longer blind, stood frozen in the middle of the market. For the first time in her life, she saw the world not with her hands or her ears, but with her eyes. The colors were so sharp they almost hurt. The sky above was endless blue, broken by tall broken towers that reached upward like giant claws. The crowd around her was no longer voices in the dark. They were faces, alien faces, sharp eyes watching her, whispering, pointing. She gasped, covering her mouth. So many, she whispered, her knees weakened. The sudden flood of light, shape, and color made her dizzy. The human caught her arm before she collapsed. Easy, he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes kept scanning the crowd. He knew too many eyes were fixed on them now. The people did not cheer. They did not celebrate her miracle. Instead, suspicion spread like fire. What is that human trick? One merchant spat. How did the trash girl get new eyes? Another hissed. He hides forbidden tech. He is breaking the law. Kor, the butcher's son, stood frozen for a moment, but then his lips twisted into a smile. His cruel mind was quick. Look at her, he shouted. She has stolen power from him. A rat like her does not deserve this. That human brings danger. The crowd murmured louder. Fear and envy mixed with curiosity. The girl felt their stares like knives. She clung to the human's coat, trembling. They hate me more now, she whispered. The human looked down at her new eyes now wide with wonder and fear, and his jaw tightened. Let them hate. He will not crawl anymore. But even as he said it, he knew danger was near. The girl turned her gaze everywhere, trying to drink in every sight she had missed for years. The silver shine of a vendor's pot, the glow of fire in a cooking pan, the faces, so many faces, some angry, some shocked, some curious. Then her eyes locked on her own reflection in a cracked mirror hanging at a stall. She gasped. For the first time ever, she saw herself. Her face was thin, her hair tangled, her dress torn. Her pale skin was streaked with dirt. Tears blurred her sight again. That is it me? She whispered. The human gently guided her away from the mirror. Yes, but it does not have to stay this way. Before she could answer, a loud metallic sound rang out. Soldiers in black armor pushed through the crowd. Their leader's voice was cold and sharp. Human! Step away from the girl. The market grew silent. Everyone knew the soldiers belonged to the city's council. The council feared human technology more than anything, because it threatened their control. The girl's heart pounded. She gripped the human's arm. They will take me. They will take it away. The leader pointed at the glasses on her face. Those devices are forbidden. Remove them and come with us. The human stood firm. His voice was calm but hard. She has the right to see. You will not take them. The soldier raised a weapon, a long staff glowing with energy. The crowd gasped. Some backed away, afraid to be near. The girl's new eyes widened. She had just received the gift of sight, and now she was about to lose it again. Her body shook. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. The human placed himself in front of her, blocking the weapon. His eyes burned with quiet rage. If you want to take her, you go through me. The tension was sharp enough to break the air. The soldiers stepped closer, surrounding them. The crowd whispered like a storm. Some wanted to see the human punished. Others wanted to see the girl stripped of her miracle. The girl, clutching her bag of scraps with one hand, suddenly saw it differently. For the first time, she could see the worthless pieces she carried, the sharp edges that had cut her so many times. Her heart screamed, I am not trash anymore. Her fear turned into something else, a spark of fire. She stepped from behind the human, her voice shaking but strong enough to be heard. No, these eyes are mine. You will not take them. The crowd gasped. Nobody had ever heard her speak with courage. The soldiers froze, surprised for a moment. The leader sneered. You dare speak back, trash? The girl raised her chin. Her knees shook, but her new eyes locked on his without fear. I am not trash. Not anymore. The human's lips curved into the smallest smile. The soldiers, however, gripped their weapons tighter. And in that tense moment, the market held its breath, waiting to see if a blind girl, who now could see, would spark a fire that no one could put out. The market was frozen in silence. A blind girl who now could see stood defiant before soldiers of the council. Her new eyes shone bright with tears and fire. The human stood beside her, calm but ready. The soldiers tightened their circle, weapons humming. Take them, the leader barked. The crowd scattered like frightened birds. Merchants grabbed their goods, children ran, doors slammed shut. Only whispers were left behind. The trash girl sees. The human gave her sight. The council will kill them both. The girl's hands shook, but she did not back down. She whispered to the human, What will we do? Run, he answered simply. And then it began. The first soldier lunged forward with his glowing staff. The human moved faster. He shoved the girl behind him and struck the soldier's arm, knocking the weapon aside. A blast of blue energy missed her by inches, burning the ground. Move, the human shouted. The girl stumbled, her legs unsure. She had never run with eyes before. The world was too bright, too fast. But she forced herself to follow him, her heart pounding. For the first time, she saw the twisting streets, the crooked towers, the piles of rusted machines. The city was a maze of color and shadow, and now it was chasing her. The soldiers ran after them, their boots heavy, their weapons glowing. The human led her through narrow alleys, ducking under broken bridges, pushing past doors. He knew the city better than he should, like he had studied it for this moment. Keep your eyes forward, he told her as they ran. Don't stop, she tried, but her eyes wanted to look at everything. The silver shine of a water pipe, the bright red of hanging cloth, the faces of people peering from windows, shocked to see her running like anyone else. For years she had been a shadow crawling on the ground, but now she was a spark of fire in motion. Still fear gnawed at her chest. She gasped. They will catch us. I cannot run fast enough. The human slowed just enough to grip her hand. His voice was sharp but steady. You can. Trust your legs. Trust your eyes. His grip was strong, pulling her forward. For the first time, she felt like she was flying, not crawling. Behind them, the market streets were loud and full of colors, but she could not see any of them. The blind alien girl walked slowly with her hands stretched out, touching the ground, feeling for objects. She bent down, picked up broken cups, bent metal, and empty cans. Her clothes were dirty and full of holes. People stepped aside when she passed, whispering to each other. Look, the trash girl again, one alien woman said with disgust. She cannot work, cannot fight, cannot even see. Why is she still alive? Another man added. The girl heard every word, but she kept her face down. Her pale eyes could not see, but her ears were sharp. She never answered back. She just collected trash and kept walking. Children followed her sometimes, throwing stones or laughing. They shouted, "Trash girl! Trash girl!" She wanted to run away, but she needed scraps to survive. She collected broken pieces of glass and metal, because sometimes traders gave her a little food in return. It was not much, but enough to keep her alive for one more day. Still, each night she asked herself the same question. Why was I born like this? Why did the gods make me blind? She never got an answer. That day the air was different. A strange wind blew through the ruined city. The girl felt it brush against her face, carrying a smell she did not recognize. It was not alien food or smoke from the market. It was cleaner, warmer, almost like sunlight itself had walked into the street. She paused, holding a broken cup in her hand. She did not know that at that very moment a human was watching her. He stood at the corner of the street, tall and silent, wearing a long coat. His eyes followed her every movement. He had seen many things in his life, war, hunger, cruelty, but never had he seen a young girl digging in trash while others laughed at her pain. The human clenched his fists. On this alien world he was only a visitor, but what he saw made his chest heavy. He wanted to step forward, but he waited. Something in her silence, in her slow movements, told him this was not the right moment. The girl reached toward another pile of junk. Her hand touched sharp metal. She gasped softly as blood dripped from her finger. Still, she said nothing. She wiped the blood on her torn dress and kept feeling for useful scraps. The human felt anger rising inside him. Why do they let her suffer? Why does no one care? At that moment, a group of alien boys appeared. They were young but cruel. One kicked the trash pile over, scattering pieces across the ground. "Here, blind girl, find it again," he shouted. The others laughed. The girl reached out, trying to collect the pieces again, but the boys kicked them further away. One even pulled her hair, making her cry out softly. She tried not to scream, because screaming only made them laugh louder. The human's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, his boots making a heavy sound on the stone ground. The boys froze when they saw him. He was bigger than them, stronger, and his eyes were full of something they did not understand. Rage mixed with pity. Without a word, the human bent down and helped the girl pick up the scraps. His hands were gentle, careful not to frighten her. The girl froze, confused. She had never felt hands like his before, on a warm, steady, not cruel. Who are you?" she whispered. Her voice was small, weak, like it had forgotten how to speak to kind people. The human did not answer. He simply placed the scraps back into her little bag. The boys, now frightened, stepped back and disappeared into the crowd. The girl tilted her head, trying to understand. She could not see his face, but she felt something in the air around him. Safety. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone, but she also felt fear. Who was this stranger? Why did he help her when no one else ever did? The human stood up slowly, watching her. He could not stop thinking. If only she could see. What would her eyes show the world? And in that moment, a thought came to him. He had something in his pack, something small, something powerful, something that could change her life forever. But should he give it to her, or would it only bring more danger? The market grew louder. The sun slowly sank behind broken towers, and the human's choice hung heavy in the air. The human did not move for a long time. He just stood there, watching the blind alien girl clutch her bag of scraps tightly against her chest. Around them, the market noise grew louder. Merchants shouting, buyers arguing, footsteps rushing by. Yet in that small circle of silence, it felt like time had slowed. The girl tilted her head. She could hear him breathing, steady and calm, unlike the quick breath of the boys who mocked her. His silence made her curious. Nobody ever stood still with her. People either ignored her or shouted at her. But this stranger simply stayed. Finally, she whispered again. Why did you help me?" The human looked at her pale eyes. He could see the scars around them, the way she struggled to keep her chin up, the way she tried not to look weak. He thought of his own world, of children who once needed help during the war. He remembered their faces. He remembered the promises he had broken. He took a slow breath. "Because no one else will," he answered at last. Her lips trembled. No one had ever spoken to her so gently. She wanted to ask more, but words felt heavy on her tongue. Instead, she lowered her head, clutching her scraps tighter. The human's hand moved to his pack. He knew what lay inside. A small case, old but still working. Inside the case was a pair of glasses. Not ordinary ones, but glasses built with human tech. They could correct vision, even enhance it. He had carried them for years, a spare pair from Earth. But should he give them away? On this alien world, technology like that was rare, almost priceless. If others saw the girl wearing them, she might become a target. Yet when he looked at her again, fumbling for broken metal with cut fingers, he felt his chest ache. He knelt down so that his voice was close to her ear. "Tell me, do you want to see?" The girl froze. Her heart beat fast. Nobody had ever asked her that. For as long as she could remember, she only dreamed of colors, of light, of faces she had never truly seen. Her voice shook.
I want...
"But it is impossible. I was born blind." The human slowly opened the case. A soft metallic sound clicked as he lifted the glasses. They gleamed under the market's dim light. "Nothing is impossible," he said quietly. She reached out, her small hands trembling. Her fingers brushed against the cool frame. "What is this?" she whispered. "Something that can change everything," he replied. Before he could place them on her, a loud voice shouted from behind. "Hey, human! What are you doing with the trash, girl?" The girl stiffened. She recognized that voice. It belonged to Kor, the butcher's son. He was bigger, crueler than the boys before. He walked toward them, pushing through the crowd, his eyes full of hate. "She belongs in the dirt," Kor sneered, "not in the hands of an off-worlder." The human stood, slipping the glasses back into his hand but hiding them from sight. His eyes locked on Kor. "Stay away," but Kor only laughed. "Why defend her? She is nothing. She cannot work. She cannot fight. She eats scraps like a rat. Better to throw her away." The words cut deep into the girl's heart. She lowered her head, wishing she could disappear. But then she felt the human's hand gently touch her shoulder. His grip was strong, firm, not letting her sink into fear. "She is not nothing," the human said, his voice hard as stone. The crowd grew quiet. Merchants and buyers turned their heads. They had never heard anyone defend the blind girl before. Kor's face twisted with anger. He spat on the ground. "Then prove it, human. Show us she is worth anything." The human's eyes narrowed. He looked down at the trembling girl, then at the glasses in his hand. He knew the risk. If he gave them to her here in front of everyone, she would no longer be invisible. She would be a target. But he also knew this might be her only chance. He leaned closer to her and whispered, "Do you trust me?" Her lips parted. She had never trusted anyone before. Yet something inside her told her this man was different. Her voice was soft, almost a breath. "Yes." The human raised the glasses slowly, his heart pounding. The crowd leaned forward. Kor's eyes narrowed with suspicion. The girl's hands trembled as she felt the frame touch her face. And then, everything changed. For the first time in her life, light flooded her world. Colors, shapes, the blur of faces around her came into focus. Her mouth opened in shock. Tears filled her eyes as she gasped. I can see," she whispered. The crowd erupted in noise. Some gasped, some shouted, and Kor's face turned pale. The human stood beside her, ready for whatever storm was about to come. Because he knew this was only the beginning. The human still stood close, watching the blind alien girl clutch her bag of broken scraps as if it was treasure. Around them the market shouted with life. Voices selling meat, smoke from cooking fires, the clatter of metal. Yet in that small space where they stood, silence pressed like heavy air. The girl tilted her head, listening. She could hear his heartbeat, strong and steady. It was not the hurried breath of cruel boys or the mocking tone of merchants. This man was different, but difference scared her. Nobody ever stopped for her. Nobody ever helped, she whispered, almost too soft to hear. Why are you here? Why touch the trash girl? The human bent slightly so his face was near hers. He studied her pale eyes, the scars that showed years of struggle. He thought of battles he had fought, the helpless faces he once failed to save. His voice came deep and calm. Because you don't deserve this, he said. Her lips trembled. No one had ever spoken to her like that. For a moment her chest warmed, but fear quickly